Hey guys, last video we saw how to add child elements to the scroll view, and we also made one child element to be visible by defining the fixed height container. Today we'll set up the scroll view to get callbacks, using which we'll move one child element at a time, and we'll also use the timer to automatically move the child elements. So let's start with the idea that we have to go to the next page when the app is loaded. For that we'll use the state called autoplay, and if it's true we'll just execute a function called this dot start autoplay. And in this start autoplay we'll just set the timer which will execute the function for every 5 seconds, and in the function called go to next page we'll tell the scroll view how much it has to move to go to the next page, that is the next child element. And this timer will return us the timer ID, which we'll use to stop the timer if it's already running. And now let's define stop autoplay, where we'll check for the timer ID, and if it exists then we'll call clear interval by passing the timer ID, and we'll set the timer ID to null. So now let's define the function go to next page. So here we need the index of the next page we are moving to, which is just by adding the current index by 1, and once we reach the last element we have to come back to the first child of the first page. So for that we'll take the modulus of the children count. So now we have to just tell the scroll view to scroll to the next page or to the next child element. So for that we need the reference of the scroll view. So let's define the reference by giving an ID to the scroll view. So we can do it by ref equal to scroll view underscore ref, where I'll define a string constant, and I'll use that reference ID here as this dot refs, and I pass this ID to that array, and I'll get the access to the scroll view, and I'll call scroll to, and here we'll tell the scroll view to scroll to a position in y direction by multiplying the height of the scroll view with next index, which will take us to that particular child element or the page, we can say. Now we don't have the height yet, so we'll get the height of the scroll view by passing a prop to on layout. That would be this dot on scroll view layout, and in this callback we'll get an event as a parameter, and in the event we'll have an access to the height of the scroll view, and let height equal to event dot native event dot layout, and we'll set the state by passing the height. So now let's define one more prop on scroll. So this will get executed when the scroll view scrolls, which will also send us an event as a parameter, in which we'll get access to the page, the position we have moved to, and by how much amount the scroll view has scrolled. So now determine our own height by dividing the scroll by the height of our scroll view, and if the scroll is equal to the previous scroll we'll just return, otherwise we'll just store it. And now to determine whether the scroll is happening to the next page or within the page, we'll use offset. We'll calculate the offset, and we'll divide the scroll by the height of the scroll view, and we'll subtract that by the position we have received. That will give us the offset, and if the offset is 0, that means we have moved to the next position or the next page. So if offset equal to 0, we'll set the current index to the position. That means the current index will be pointing to the new page, and we'll set the timer to be executed after 5 seconds, which will again repeat the process to go to the next page and calculate the next index, and so on. Now we have done with everything. Let's enable the paging for the scroll view to get the paging effect, also the position. Now the scroll event total will be by default 16, will decrease to 8. And now let's bind the functions which we are using. So totally we have 5 functions. So I've bind all the functions. Now let's set the state to default values, height equal to 0 and autoplay to false. We'll enable it shortly. Now let's initialize the current index to 0 and the children count as 5. We have 5 child elements. Now it looks good. Now let's check how it looks in the device. So we have got our first error. Looks like on layout, it should be layout. It looks fine. We have got paging effect. Now let's enable the timer, and now we have to wait for 5 seconds to go to next child. It's happening. Nice. You see some problem with the scroll. I think it has to do with the timer. So when we execute the next page, we'll just stop the timer temporarily. So do it in the component did mode. This is actually not required for this case, but seems like that fixed our issue. Now let's just wait and see whether the scroll position will go back to the first child element once we reach the last child, that is salmon in our case, salmon's view. So after salmon we have to go back to purple. It's not happening. We have an issue. Let's see. Yeah, we have an issue here. We have to enclose. Now let's decrease the timer value. It's taking a long time. Let's wait again. Sorry guys for this, but it looks good to see, right? Oh, we are almost there. Now we have to go back to purple. Yeah, cool. So that's working. Now let me just show you how I have used this to create auto scroll view for loading images one after the other. It's very similar to this. Instead of the simple views, I have used images. I've already created this component. I'll just import it from the source folder. Auto scroll view images. Now let's refresh and see. Great, it looks nice, right? So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and let me know if the video has helped you or not. And till next time, have fun coding, and thanks for watching guys.